Warning. This podcast is about to open the sealed section of spirituality. Hey you, yeah you, we see you, you divine human being.
And we are calling you to come home.
We are ready to talk about the real shit. We're going to get real about life as a divine human being.
The good, the not so great, spirituality and taboo. Divinely Human is the podcast that's all about what it means to be human in a spiritual context.
We know it's not just about being spiritual, it's about being human too.
And that means changing poopy nappies and channeling angels.
Sometimes even at the same time. It's time for us to stop making other people's noise our own soundtrack of life.
Let's make some waves together so that we can all ride them together and create deep resonance, a sense of home in this crazy world.
Pour yourself a coffee
Or a glass of wine if that's your potion.
and sit down with your new favorite spiritual sisters
As we go on a journey together into what it means to be
a divine human being.
on this spiritual journey. Hello and welcome to the Divinely Human podcast. I am your co-host Aleisha,
And I am Tanita.
and we're really keen to be here. I was like, what's another word? I'm so sick of the damn word excited. I am keen to be here. I'm feeling a bit we were just speaking about how long the last 7 days has felt. I'm feeling like a little bit battered is a good word after this full moon in Pisces that we've just moved through. So bear with me today, family.
Yeah, Pisces full moon kicked me in the ass and rolled me over sideways. Like, I feel so disorientated. It's not even funny.
That's a good word, actually. I feel the same. I feel disorientated.
Yeah.
Just hit me in all the spots. Plus, I don't think I have any Pisces placements in my chart
Really?
at all.
Wow.
Zero.
That's interesting.
So it's a foreign energy to me.
That's crazy.
Except it's the opposite sign of my own. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a comfortable time for me.
Yeah, it would feel very disorientating. And it's funny because we are opposites. So, like, you know, even in Virgo season, I'm like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. And then this full moon comes around and it's like, oh my gosh, hits you just like crazy. But
Yeah.
I'm excited. I am excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today because when we read this question out, we were like, oh, this is going to be a very interesting perspective, especially considering we're both doing a lot of work around wealth and healing our own relationship to wealth and how we relate to it and embody it and just kind of move with it. So this question, when I heard you read it, I was like, oh, I think there's some stuff going to come up today. So I'm excited because if we're going through it, I know other people are going through it, and I think this question just kind of cuts through the noise. So do you want to read it out?
So the question that came through a little while ago from one of our community members was they wanted us to speak into the belief that in order to get value from a mentor or a mentor or a coach. Told you guys I can't speak today. To believe in that in order to get value from a mentor or a coach, you have to spend more money to do so, which is really interesting because, I mean, the way that people market in this space kind of implies that in a lot of what I see with some people, not with everyone, I will state that, but I have seen this come through.
Yeah. Same. I think the thing for me with this question is like when you have this ability to see beyond people's marketing and you really are able to like tune into their energy and their intentions and kind of really like psychically read them, you can understand that some people just have high prices to mimic incredibly valuable work that is placed with high prices in this
Mhm.
industry. So it's almost like this copycat energy that's like, well, if I put a higher price tag on it, people are going to assume that my work is valuable and
Mhm.
that, I'm going to be providing a really high end experience. And I think this is a lot of the problem with why I find it so hard to raise my prices, because I'm so aware of that energy
Mm.
that I would never want anybody to like project that onto me. And it's just really sticky. But there are people out there that have really high prices and that do provide a really high end experience. But just like anything, there's two ends of the spectrum. And so I think like when we're talking about this today, it's just important to keep those both in mind. Like we are aware of the fact that people are copycatting numbers just to make themselves feel high end when they're actually not. And there are people out there who actually have high end prices because they do offer a really high experience.
Yes, yes. I really agree with what you just said. A big thing too that I've kind of, it was brought to my awareness in the past week or so. I know that you and I speak about Victoria Washington all the time. I feel like she should probably get, I don't know, some sort of commission of the money that we don't make from this podcast. She did I think it was a live stream last week on marketing.
Mm.
It's really interesting because she was talking about money and when people market themselves by their income, like use their income to market themselves. So like I'm making six figures. If you work with me, then the quality of your work is going to enable you to make six figures. And she was speaking into what a problem that is,
Mm.
because we shouldn't be selling people things using a price point. Instead, we should be selling to people and using marketing that reflects the energy and the like giving people the power back in allowing them to see that they can step into their own power and create whatever the hell they want to create, whether that's six figures, whether that's two figures, like honestly. And it really hit me because I do see a lot of that copycat marketing in this space of this price represents the worth that this work has. And I'm not saying it doesn't, but I know firsthand from recounts that a lot of people in this space are selling at such a high price and people are walking away feeling really disempowered and unsupported. So it is a big problem. I agree.
Yeah. And that's really interesting because that really challenges kind of the teachings in marketing around like you have to provide a tangible kind of like a tangible experience for people, and something that is so tangible and easy for people to grab onto is the fact that, oh, if I take this I'm going to make six figures. But what it sounds like Victoria was just doing is really challenging that. And not only that, but like the ethics behind it too. And I just find that really interesting. I find it really interesting because we're seeing so many coaches now say, I help coaches get to six figures and whatnot. And I just find it interesting that that's coming online a lot more. So yeah.
It's easy to see other people doing it that have been doing it for a long time in the industry and jumping to that as a sales tactic and a marketing tactic and not actually figuring out your own marketing style,
Yeah.
right? Like it's kind of like they're just trying on the pattern of selling in that way um, without even ensuring that people are going to walk away with that tangible outcome, which is really, really, really sticky, especially when people, pay off these mentorships and courses for months and months and months and months and months. It's really, really damaging, maybe for lack of a better word, but also very interesting. I just want to peer into their mind to see what's happening in there.
Yeah. I feel like they'd have a lot of earth placements around like needing to create a lot of sustainability financially, which would be interesting. But yeah, I think that too. I don't know. I think for me, it's like it's always around the authenticity behind it, right? It's like if
Mm.
this is something that you feel like you should be doing, then maybe it's not what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And I find that really hard. Like I really find it very hard when you're in a business and you are looking to other leaders in the space, leaders in terms of they've been in the industry for a long time, they have a bit more experience than you do, you lean to them to teach you stuff, in leaders in that way. And some things feel sticky, and I find it as a consumer to really like knuckle down my own individual authenticity and be like, no, actually, this is what I'm going to do because it feels right. And I feel like we're in this transition period of like letting go of traditional business and marketing and really stepping into that soulful selling where it's not always about well, if you pay, $2,000 to get this, I'm going to help you make $1,000 in your business consistently for the next week or whatever, like, so I don't know. I just find this is a tough time to be a business who's marketing, but also there's not been a better time to do this as well because we're really leaning into the lesson around, okay, how can you stand out not because of what you do, but because of who you are? And that's
Mm.
a really empowering time to be in business. So it might be really hard and challenging, um, like internally, but I think it's quite empowering as well.
Yeah, and that weeds out the real ones from the ones that aren't here for the right reasons. Like the fact that we are living in this time where, you can't escape the energy that people put across. Obviously, I know that some people don't find out people's true essence until after they've paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, which is very sad.
Mm.
But a lot of the time, if you're feeling into someone's energy, which you said when we first started this conversation about just using your psychic abilities and instinct, just instinct, basic human instinct in conversation with people, or just picking up on how they're presenting themselves and how they're coming across and how real they are, it can give you this really great gauge as to if they're a good fit or not. Um, but I also want to speak into as well just the fact that, I mean, I guess I want to agree with the fact that price definitely does not reflect value. And that for me personally, I mean, I've never worked one on one with a mentor or a coach. I think I've spoken about this before, but I feel like I entered the community before that was a trendy thing. I feel like it's something that's really picked up the past few years. So I kind of arrived here before that was even a thing that people offered, or that like I guess outwardly doing in such a huge way as it is now. So I've never really worked one on one with like a coach or a mentor or anything like that. That's not to say I wouldn't be open to it. It definitely would be if I felt like I needed that support. But um, just want to say, like, just being in other people's spaces, people that especially just other people that I follow on Instagram. So like I'll use you as an example. Like being in your space, I feel like has provided me with so much value. Being in, like there's like a few people on Instagram especially that I'm just like, I'm obsessed with you guys. And I'm in your space, consciously in your space, because I just feel so much value from the work. And yes, I can purchase services and do all of that to support. But just the fact of the matter of just being in that space and being in their presence is valuable, regardless of the monetary exchange, which is why I just love seeing people be themselves, especially online when it comes to showing up online, because you are providing so much value to people, just being there and showing up as yourself and doing it justice, because I feel like by showing up authentically, you impact people in such a way that if you weren't showing up in an authentic way, you would be kind of like changing people's timelines and shifting them because you're not being yourself, you're not sharing and stepping into that just that valuable essence that everyone has within themselves, but sometimes is a little bit too afraid to step into. So what I'm trying to say here, I think, is that people don't need to offer thousands and thousands of dollars worth of, content to give value. And a lot of the time, the most value is given just by being in people's space over a longer period of time, rather than doing like a week full on like immersive thing with someone. I think I was speaking about this the other week. I think we were speaking about it when we were speaking about the offering that you and I are bringing through in terms of like quantity of time spent with someone over like a focused minimal amount of time.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're working with people consistently over a longer amount of time, like you're in their space, you're in their energy, you gain so much more than whether like if you did like just a really intensive, like one-off immersive experience, because you're on a high. When that finishes, that energy dissipates. And you're like, in a week or so after that, you're like, oh, well, that was fun while it lasted.
Yeah. Yes, literally. And like, if you cannot consistently be in someone's energy and feel stable, then they're not the right person for you. Doesn't matter what price they put on it. Like, if you don't feel like you can go and continue your day after being in somebody's energy, then I would just invite you to maybe look at where your energy isn't matching up. But I totally agree with everything you said. And it's so important to talk about this. Like, this is why I am so excited to start our space together, because we have so much like to say about all of these topics. And I think it's so important just to have a really good awareness around one, what you need, and two, who you are investing in, because it's not just what you're getting from somebody's service or product. It's actually the energy that you're going to be inviting into your space. Like, that is so important, and that should be a major deciding factor on whether or not you exchange monetary value with somebody. It's like, if you cannot stand the sound of somebody's voice, don't invest in a 12 month like long container. And it's okay to make these decisions on something that would seem really vain, but I want to explain why that's important. Your body and your desires and the way that you connect with people on that face value is actually telling you something on a much deeper level. And they are clues and signals that get pinged and like lit up when you are interacting with somebody. So it might be that the sound of their voice really annoys you, or like certain things that they do with their body just like kind of tick you off a little bit, but it's actually something deeper. It's your body's way of saying, this person is not right for you. We're not clicking, like something is kind of pinging off. And so really just look at, can I fully relax? How is my body language around this person? Am I willing to be like fully open and receptive to sharing and exchanging and being in relationship with this person? Do I feel comfortable enough to be around them? And I've made this mistake. I've been like, holy crap, I cannot stand that person, but what they offer is so valuable. And then I end up paying the money and regretting it later. And it's such a bummer every single time. But like, this is coming from experience. And I really want to share this because it's so important to trust your own ways of receiving and reading people's energy, you know?
Oh my God. So many, like, yes, as you were talking just then. And I'm like, let her finish. You know, when you resonate so hard with what someone's saying and you're like, yes. I was feeling, because I've seen people use that as a tactic to sell. I've seen people say, like, if your coach isn't triggering you, then you got to find another coach
Yeah, like
because they should be triggering you.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, no, actually, your mentor or coach should not be triggering you at all, because the fact that you're triggered isn't always an invitation to grow. We're human beings here. The feeling and the sensation of being triggered is your nervous system going, no, no. And that's not to be blamed on like, oh, you're just too scared, or like you need to be more open, or you've got work to do around there. Sometimes that's just literally like you're not on the same frequency and you're not resonating. And I've seen so many mentors and coaches turn around and blame that on the client, like, oh, it's okay. If you're feeling triggered right now, that's a good thing. And I'm like, that is, oh, it's just like, it's really irresponsible on like a coach's behalf to say that and to express that. I think that it's really uneducated. Obviously, they have no idea about how the primal human instincts work. They're completely disconnected to that and why things arise within us. And they probably shouldn't be in that position coaching.
100%. Let's just say how it is. No, that's so freaking true. And there's a major difference between being triggered and being invited into evolution. Like being
I love that.
invited into evolution is like, it's scary and you can kind of feel like your comfort being pushed. It feels uncomfortable.
But you feel safe.
Yeah, but you feel safe. Being triggered is like, the world is going to end. I'm an awful human being. Like my life is crashing around me. Like I can't find stability in this. It's a really unstable energy to put our nervous system into.
Yeah, and you feel unsupported.
Exactly. And then if you're investing to spend more of your time in that container, it's like, what are you signing your nervous system up to doing? It's heartbreaking because we get brainwashed into thinking, well, if you're not triggered by the price, then it's not high enough or it's not a big enough investment for you. And you're like, are you fucking kidding? Like, no, I'm working my ass off. I'm looking after my family. Like the price isn't triggering me. It's actually you are. Like it's so annoying. And I'm so sick of seeing it.
I mean, people like in the position of coaching or mentoring, they shouldn't be triggering people full stop. If they're working with someone, you need to be like, you should feel safe and you should feel supported all the damn time because that's what you're fucking paying that person to do for you. Yeah. You're not paying them to trigger you and disrupt your nervous system. You're paying them to support you and be in your corner and fucking cheer you on and be there every step of the way. Like if you were to break that down, you're literally paying for that. You're not paying to be, triggered and upset and to doubt yourself and to feel like you're unsupported and misunderstood. And I think that's a really big issue when it comes to people marketing as well. They kind of come across in this really aggressive, cutthroat way where they're like, this is going to be scary and you need to step into this. And if you're not triggered, then you need to find another coach because you're obviously not ready for this expansion. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Literally.
Can you stop? Like, stop it. It's so stupid. And then they tack on like the price tag to that. I'm like, oh my God.
It's like a down payment on a house. Like
definitely price does definitely not reflect the value of people's work. And I think it's up to everyone's personal discretion what sort of exchange they want for their work. But I think at the end of the day, regardless of the number, if you're in a client position and you're working with someone, as long as you feel like supported and safe and not resentful towards what you're exchanging for it, then it is the right fit. It is. Yeah, that's the defining factor, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. And just going back to the being triggered by your potential coach or mentor, like they might be triggering you, but like, can they actually support you in creating sustainability after that trigger? Like, that's what you want to watch out for as well. It's like, they might say all of this stuff, like, and trigger your fears into being like awakened within you. But it's like, what are they doing after that? Like, are they just going to trigger you and then be like, here's their blueprint to follow? Like, see you later. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But
also with the money thing and like actually investing as a consumer, it's for me, I think this comes with like your buying style. It's like really understanding how you purchase things and really getting to know maybe your unconscious patterning around money and exchanging money. But for me, it's like I know that I've probably not made the best decision if I see something and buy it within that same day. And it's like a really fast paced kind of transaction.
Mhm.
That's for me personally, but I know other people, they get really lit up in that aspect and they make their most aligned decisions. So it's just about kind of understanding how you're operating and how you work with that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I feel like as well, another thing to look out for, or to just to be conscious of as well when you're looking for people to work with or someone to support you, there's this belief that you should work with somebody who has like this super super successful like six-figure business, and they use that as like marketing, like, oh, do you want to make six figures too? And it's like, well, you can't sell someone your personal blueprint because they're not you, and your energetic makeup is so completely different depending on who you are, that no matter what steps you are telling this like your client to take or to do, or any advice you're giving on like how you did it, that shouldn't come into your value that you're giving people, because it is simply not going to work the same for that person. So I find it's actually quite a lazy way to support somebody. They're like, oh, yeah, this is what I did. Try this on for size. It's just, I find it really lazy.
Mm,
And that needs to change in this industry, because we're different. We're not going to do that. And I know so many people who don't necessarily make six figures, who sometimes don't even make like five figures, that I can just tell, like psychically, intuitively, just energy wise, when I'm in their space, I'm like, fuck, you would be, you are such a good coach. You're such a good mentor. Like, I know the people you're working with. I can see how much they've grown. Like, yes, you're not driving around in a Ferrari and own a beach house, but you have supported people to actually step into their power and to take the power back and to really make some huge shifts in their lives. And that's not dependent on your journey and your own accolades at all. And I think that that's also what puts people off in the industry too, as coaches and mentors who are coming into the industry and stepping into it. We can look at ourselves and go, oh, fuck, like I was struggling financially, the other week. I had like a really tough week, a few weeks ago, but how like that makes me really unworthy to be able to coach other people. No, it doesn't. I truly, truly believe that has nothing to do with that at all. I feel like it's just about how you navigate life in general,
yeah.
and the tools and what you put forward to move through things, and to take the courage to step into being yourself
Mm.
is what that's the tool belt that you need to be able to bring through any sort of success and abundance. It's not your triumphs and your accolades, and that's not what we should be selling when we're trying to get people in to work with them. Um, and it puts people off. It puts like the smaller businesses in this space. It really makes us feel really unworthy of being in that position. But I'm just, yeah, if you're listening to this and you feel like resonance with this, just know that you are so worthy. If you genuinely just want to help people and support people, and you have a tool belt to offer people to move through this sort of stuff, you're so worthy of being here. You don't need to be a millionaire.
Or have like savings in the bank and have like
Yes.
everything lined up. Like,
Yeah, it's bullshit.
yeah, it is. And it's crazy because as a human being, you're not always going to see your strengths and your gifts. Like, it's not going to be at the forefront of you recognizing yourself. It's just how we're wired. So,
Mm,
for you, you might be thinking, oh, I have nothing to offer. I need to be more like this person who does have the six-figure business and the beautiful car and the beautiful house and the beautiful this and that. But it's like, can you look a little deeper inside yourself and just for a minute accept that you are worthy just because you're here and just because you have
Mm,
that desire? It's like I see so many women ignoring their desire to be in this space and hiding behind the static post. And it's like your
yeah.
desire should be like result enough that you are worthy to be in this space. You shouldn't need the
Yeah.
money. You shouldn't need the whole 100 testimonials. You shouldn't need people to continue to tell you that you're worthy of being in this space. Your desire telling you, I want to be here, should be enough for you to be like, yes, okay, I'm going to be here.
Yes.
And people who are sharing their success and accolades and results, that's all they're sharing, right? I don't
Yeah.
see them sharing, shit, I don't have any money in my bank account. I wasn't able to pay my phone bill this month. Like,
Yeah.
they're not sharing that side. And I'm
A hundred
sure it's
percent.
happened.
100%. And half of them, probably more than half of them, I'm gonna go out on a whim here and say probably like 80% of these people are like young and have no kids, like no, like a lot of them are still living at home with their parents, like they don't have mortgages, like they're like, woo,
Have nothing, no
like
bills to pay for.
100%. Like I want to know like from like if I was looking for somebody to be my mentor, I would be like, okay, I want to hear from that woman who has 3 kids, who struggled to get up last week because 2 of them were sick. The other one like had to go to daycare. She also has a 9 to 5 on the side, yet she's still running her business here and fucking killing it. And she shows up like authentically and humbly and feels like she just wants to be on my level. That's the sort of person that I want to work with,
Yeah.
not
Take my money.
not the person that wakes up and goes, I've spent 5 hours to myself
Oh my God, don't even
to
start.
balance my life out. My morning routine consists of a 5-hour practice. Like,
Crying because I literally have heard this about a million times. And if you know who we're talking about in this space, like that is so fucking frustrating. And you know what's like hit me when you said that? It's like, this is why I regret making that purchase to that very expensive coaching company that, like, if you
yeah,
guys know the story, like I paid 10 grand for coaching. And as you were saying that before, I was like, I signed up to learn from a man to begin with. Nothing against men, but men teaching business, very different to me, a woman who had a newborn kid and is
yeah,
working a
yeah,
9 to 5. Like,
yeah,
there's just a difference there. And I'm not
yeah,
saying he doesn't have incredible wisdom and he doesn't have really great practices, but for where I was and the business that I want to create, very out of alignment. And it's like
yeah.
you get caught up in the hype and you get caught up in the potential results that they can give you. You get caught up in their life, but it can be so extremely different that where you are today makes you feel like if I'm not there, I'm not worthy of anything. And that
Mm,
just sucks. Like that feedback is just really crap, you know?
yeah. Yeah. A lot of people in this space kind of only cater to a very, very small niche of people who live certain lifestyles. And it's really sad because the people that do miss out are like the most beautiful, gifted, like people that have so much to offer. And the majority of them are like mums with
Yeah.
kids and like that run busy lives and that just really have so much to give to people, but just don't have the support to encourage that through to allow them to step into that. And they just need people that are going to hand the power back to them instead of take it and make them feel even more unempowered and uninspired.
Mhm.
um it's very, very limited, the people that can actually work with these coaches, especially when they're handing out crazy advice like like, for example, I was speaking to one of my friends, only yesterday, and I was saying, like, isn't it crazy when people are like, you can't fulfill, I'm pretty sure you and I have spoken about this before as well, when people are like, if you're really committed to your business and you really want to be successful, then you have to quit your other job. You
Oh
just
my
have to quit it. And I'm like, okay, but how do I feed my kids? And who's going to pay my mortgage? Like,
yeah, like I've got
it's
cars.
okay for you. You're living at home or like in a share house without any mortgage and you have no actual responsibilities in your life. But like, I have to keep people alive.
Yeah, yeah, like
Like,
quite
so,
literally, I have to keep human beings with heartbeats alive, fed. That is just fucking wild.
like, okay, I'll just quit my job. Fuck it.
Yeah. And then you know what
People,
happens? You step into your business shit scared that if it doesn't work, you're a big fat failure. And
yeah,
you bring in all of these fears and these
yeah.
projections, not only from you, but from your coach. And you actually create an ecosystem of like fear and scarcity. And you're
Mhm.
projecting that into the people that you're trying to attract. Like that is wild
Bingo.
to me.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying because I was also fed that around like, well, if you take your business seriously and you want a wildly successful business and you really want to create an impact, then you have to leave your job. And I felt so ashamed that I was still working in my corporate job in financial planning and that I was running this spiritual business. I felt so much imposter syndrome. And I kept asking my guides. I remember they were getting so annoyed with me, like asking them, when am I going to leave? When is it going to be the right time to go? They're like, shut up, like just trust the process. And it's taken me 4 years to understand that actually I'm meant to be in this corporate job. And
Mhm.
and I know it's because I'm still working through a lot of internal stuff, but in the same breath, if you feel called to fully dive into your business, you have to trust that. This is about trusting that
Yeah.
alignment and that support system around you. If you feel like you're going to thrive while working in a 9 to 5 and having the business on the side, doesn't mean it's going to be easy, doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable. But if you feel safe and supported doing that, you have to trust that that's your path. And same goes for the
Absolutely.
other side. If you feel so like ready to just dive into your business wholeheartedly and you feel safe and supported to do that, again, it's not going to be easy, it might feel scary, then you have to trust that that's okay too. But never let anybody tell you if you want to take your business seriously and if you want to create impact and if you want to create money, you have to go all in because that's
Yeah.
just such a load of BS. Like,
Yeah. You don't want to operate from a place of survival. Like, survival mode is not a nice place to be. And we don't actually think properly when we're living in that way. All we want to do is like scrambling, to the surface of the water, trying to keep our head afloat. And that's, I mean, if you work in this industry, I hate calling it industry, but that's just how it is. If you work in this industry, you cannot actually hold space for people if you yourself are living in that place of survival and scarcity and fear. How do you expect to show up for other people? You're not even showing up for yourself because you've put yourself in that position because someone else has really ignorantly told you that you have to be all in or nothing will happen. I think it's just really neglectful.
I'd love to count how many eye rolls we've done this whole podcast because I think it'd be about 2 million. Like, frustrating. But I'm
Yeah.
glad we're talking about this because it sucks, but it's a part of our industry. And continuing off the guidance your guides told us, like, don't just whinge about the industry, actually do something. Like,
Yeah.
we really are committed in both of our businesses to changing that narrative and really supporting you as an individual, like, and your whole personal experience. I think that's why, we both hate that 5 steps to financial freedom, like bullshit, because it's like you have no idea like how many steps that person took before they took those 5 steps or the
Yeah.
blueprint. Like, you don't know how they're living their life. And
Yeah.
I think this is just an invitation to look beyond the money and actually look at the person. Like, it's actually
Yeah.
not really about the money. It's really about what you're investing into. It's not necessarily always about the exchange, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And you and I say this all the time. And, not just in like referring to monetary value, but just content and services and offerings in general. You and I have always hammered this into our communities. And we've always said it is not about the offering, which means it's also not about the exchange. It is about the person. You are paying for that person, for that energy, for who they are at their essence. Do you like that person?
It's as simple
I
as
like them. Like, I know, like, you shouldn't give a fuck like how successful they are, like, in their own world. You need to be looking at if you genuinely feel resonance with who they are, and you see a little part of yourself in that, that is what you need to be looking for.
yeah.
So if someone is bringing that through and you feel so much resonance with them, and in your heart of hearts that they have value, and straight off the bat if this person can serve you or not, then whether or not you pay thousands of dollars, whether or not you don't, like, if it feels aligned, it's aligned. So never, ever, ever. I think that's pretty much what we're trying to wrap up here, is that it is definitely not dependent on monetary value, what you're getting from people in this space.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
This was good. This was really good.
Mm. That was a good chat.
Yes. I'm so curious to see like how or what is landing for people in this conversation. Head to our Instagram and comment on the post, because I'd be so curious to see what you're also witnessing in the community, and what you're doing to change that and really step into creating more than just money, but like creating relationships in this space.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I want to know, guys. I want to know. So, with that said, we're going to do a quick card pull for the beautiful soul who put in this topic. What a great topic!
Great
What a
topic.
can of worms that was. What a can of worms! But I love it. So we're going to do a quick card pull. Whoops. Each. Ooh, okay. I'll go first. So the card that came through is Strength. Is it? Yeah, Strength. So this is on this card, it also says the elk and ash. So if we think about like elk and how strong and how much strength they embody, it's not necessarily just about the strength, but they're actually so confident in nature as well. They're so confident and stand in what feels true to them. So I want to bring through that energy of standing in your truth. That's what I'm getting. Standing in your truth, regardless of what your inner circle feels or thinks about that, is the big message coming through with this card, and just standing really strong in who you are and what you actually want to do going forward, and not feeling pressured to do something just because your immediate community or your immediate circle, I'm feeling like it's more circle for you, is kind of like expecting you to do something else. That's what's coming through with this for you.
Oh, that's so interesting, because the card that I got was the great severing, Mars energy, anger, conflict, softening to love, which is like the same energy, right? It's about completely releasing that expectation that not only you hold for yourself, but you feel others hold for you too, and completely softening into that feminine who wants to create because she wants to create, and letting the divine masculine really start to move you into action, not because of pressure, but actually because of desire. And it's about this whole process of releasing things that don't align within you anymore. And it feels like a lot of pressure to go in one particular direction, but this like, I'm getting like
Mm,
this soft nudge in another. So maybe you're feeling like you should go in a direction, but you're feeling pulled in another, really just get
Mm.
clear on why you feel like you should, and don't explain to your desires that you need to go in that direction. Like, just move into that rhythm of trusting where she's pulling you, and you'll find things slip away, especially when you soften into that love. But I love how those cards were so aligned. That's so cool.
Yeah, they support each other perfectly.
Yeah, as
I'm not
always.
surprised.
Yeah, literally. Well, thank you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. We really appreciate you being here. Really, really appreciate this space and all of the topics that come through. If you have any suggestions, please come over to the DH podcast and drop us a DM. We'd love to hear from you. We get some of our best topics through here and through the community input. So we really, really appreciate that. But you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and all of the links will be down below. And this is a reminder to just keep your eye out too. We are creating a wait list for a really beautiful container we're creating underneath this podcast. So keep an ear out for more information, but the email wait list will be down in the bio below. We hope you have a beautiful week. Bye, guys.
See you next time. Bye.